In this demonstration, I want to talk to you about the different type of constraints that we find in surfacing design. In packages like TIA, Alias, obviously Rhino, and other surfacing design packages, you'll hear the terms of continuities such as positional, tangency, and curvature continuities, or also described as G0, G1, and G2. So let's take the case of these two curves, and I want to create a middle curve that's going to connect at each end of these two curves. I'm going to go into under my fillet curves toolbar, and I'm just going to expand that toolbar. And there's this fourth little icon here called adjustable curve blend. I'm just going to click on this, and it's asking me in the command line to select the curve to blend. So I select the first one, and then I select the second one. I'm just going to switch to position continuity in 1 and 2. So position continuity basically is just going to draw a straight line, and if I click OK on it and I zoom in, I can see that here and here there's going to be what we call a kink. Okay, so if I join these curves together like this, join, and I go into perspective mode, and I want to extrude that curve. Now I just go into surface, extrude curve straight as such. And I can already see in the reflection that there's a sharp edge showing up. That's because this surface and that surface are not are simply joined, and there's no other constraint than just then joining them. So what's going to happen is that you are going to have poor reflective qualities between the transition of one surface to another. For example, if I want to illustrate even more, I can go here in the Analyze Direction toolbar, and I'm just going to expand that little toolbar here, which is called the Analyze toolbar. And there's this little icon called Curvature Analysis tool icon, sorry. And I'm just going to expand again that other little toolbar. So this is the Surface Analysis toolbar, and there are these two little icons that are quite useful when you start analyzing your surfaces. So I'm just going to go and click on the environment map first. And you can see that if I was to check out with the reflection, you can see, for example, here we see the Space Needle, famous monument in Seattle. Well, you can see that there's an interruption in the continuity between this surface and that surface. Okay, so there's a sharp edge showing up, and in the EMAP options you've got a menu where you can choose different types of finishes, you know, if you want brush gold, brush silver, etc., sunset, and you can see how the reflection behaves. So most of the time when you do product design, but especially like in car design or aerospace, you want to make sure that your surfaces are nice and blend well. Well, we like to use these environment map tools. Okay, I'm just going to remove the environment map for now. So that's the position continuity. So clearly you can see this edge. Okay, so I'm going to undo and go back to my 3 curves. Undo again. There you go. I'm just going to keep these toolbars, go back to my top viewport. So that was just a straight line between these 2 curves. G0 continuity or position continuity. So I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to do again adjustable curve blend. I'm going to select the first curve, the second curve, and now instead of being in the position continuity, I'm going to click tangency continuity. So in the case of in curve 1, I impose a tangency continuity, and in curve 2, I have a position continuity. You can see by clicking on tangency, I have a control point that shows up here. Okay, and I can play with that control point and adjust how it's gonna behave, you know, so I can pull it in or out of curve 1 like that. Okay, and in position continuity, in the case of curve 2, well, there's nothing you can do. It's just gonna join and create another kink point here. Okay, but here there's gonna be a smoother transition between this curve and that curve. And if I want to go even smoother, I click on the curvature continuity, and I've got 2 control points that will align with the endpoint here. So this will impose an even smoother continuity as opposed to curve 2, where I still have the position continuity. So if I put tangency continuity, now I can see that this control point is aligned with the endpoint of curve 2 as such. And if I go into curvature, you can see that I have 2 control points aligned with the endpoint of curve 2. okay? And if I go with G3, it's going to add another control point, and I can do the same in curve 1 that you can see here. So I'm adding more control points on that curve, in that intermediate curve, and if I click OK, I'm going to join these curves together like this, and I go back into my perspective viewport, and I can extrude now. Surface, extrude curve straight, as such. And now you don't see the sharp edge that we've seen previously. So now I'm in G3 continuity. So G3, they call it sometimes flow. But most of the time you want to go with G2 continuity or curvature continuity. That suffices. It's not necessary to go, by adding more control points, it's not necessarily the best approach either. It's always a matter of compromise. You have to know that by adding more control points, sometimes your curve can be also having little indentations. So be careful when you're adding these control points. G2 usually gives you very, very satisfactory transitions between one surface to another. Okay, so that's for the curvature continuity. Thank you.